This past Thursday, Donald Trump spoke at an event titled, quote, Fighting Anti Semitism in America, close quote, in Washington, D.C., and here's how it went. Didn't take long for Trump to start losing his mind and trying to blame someone already if he happens to lose the upcoming November election. Tyrone Bowman live. I'm going to get right down to the essence of this article. According to the New Republic, the headline reads, Donald, quote, blame the Jews, close quote. Trump is truly losing his noun. So at an anti-Semitism event, Trump attacked American Jews, our brothers and sisters. The man is unraveling fast, and the sane washing must stop now. It was billed as an anti-Semitism event, and well, I guess it was ultimately, although not in the intended sense. The phrase, quote, anti-Semitism, close quote, usually refers to an event designed to draw attention to and denounce anti-Semitism. But in Donald Trump's hands, it morphed into an event that featured anti-Semitism in the form of the mind-blowing comments by the principal. After opening that the Democratic Party has, quote, a hold or curse, quote, on Jewish Americans, he then said, quote, I'm not going to call this as a prediction, but in my opinion, the Jewish people would have a lot to do with a loss if I'm at 40%. If I'm at 40%, or if I'm at 40, think of it. That means 60% are voting for Kamala Harris, who in particular is a bad Democrat. The Democrats are bad to Israel, very bad, close quote. That's a lie. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris stand solidly behind the nation of Israel for their sovereignty and everything that they're doing. They have supported Israel unilaterally. And let me just add this. It is very apparent that if Donald Trump loses this upcoming election, he's not going to accept responsibility for the loss, and he's not going to concede either. So what is he trying to do? He's trying to create a scapegoat or scapegoats to blame. First of all, as always, he's lying. He's not at 40%, he's at 25%. But lies are par for the course when it isn't par for the course is to show up to a constituency and serially berate them. He said again that American Jews who vote for Kamala Harris, quote, should have their head examined, close quote. He took it as a given that Jews have a dual loyalty to the United States and to Israel, the oldest anti-Semitic trope in American politics. And he whined that, quote, I haven't been treated right, close quote, by American Jews. Are you serious? He's always blaming something and someone else. This is a grown, almost an 80-year-old man whining and crying and for the vengeance and hatred and bitterness and unforgiveness. And the evangelical Christians got a nerve to call this man a Christian? They're calling him a God-fearing, upright, born-again believer, baptized believer of the Lord Jesus Christ. Are you serious? This is one of the main reasons why his campaign stays in attack mode 24 hours a day. And then when he does talk, he's talking about the border and etc. Well, he was president for 4 years. Why didn't he do something about the border problem? He inherited a robust, booming economy that Barack Obama left him, and he destroyed it. He did some good things during his presidency. That can't be denied. You know, that's a stipulated fact. But he also did some terrible things during his presidency. Now, according to the New Republic, the article continues to say, but don't worry, it wasn't all about attacking Jews. He attacked Muslims too. He boasted that if elected, he'll bring back the Muslim travel ban to keep our people from, quote, infested countries that is plainly fascist language. Who are his heroes? Hitler, that's at the top of the list. Stalin, Mussolini, Kim Jong Un. Any villainous, bloodthirsty, law breaking, tyrannical tyrant. Those are his heroes. Those are the people he worships, adores, and idolizes. Because it certainly isn't about democracy with this man. Trump only wants to be president for one reason and one reason only. Well, actually, two. He wants to pardon himself and shut down every investigation and punish everyone who would not see things his way. Abolish the Constitution. Bring back slavery. Bring back Jim Crow. He wants to bring back segregation. And what he doesn't understand is that we're not going back, quote unquote. So you can forget about that. Black people in this nation, we will not tolerate slavery in any form, in any kind. Other ethnic groups don't tolerate it, and we're not going to tolerate it. That's the bottom line. So after he's talking about his fascist language, after the debate, and this is the article, this is the author of the New Republic, these are his words I'm saying. I wrote a column arguing that this was the beginning of Trump's unraveling. I've gotten my share of predictions wrong over the years, and we still have 46 days to go. But so far, that one is looking pretty good. In the last few days, Trump has continued to spew the lies about Haitians and house pets in Springfield, Ohio. And of course, a poll found that 52% of Trump's supporters think that the lie is, quote, definitely or probably true, close quote, because it's stupid. Because they choose to believe a liar. And as I've said in other videos, I'll say again this morning, something bad, something terrible is going to happen down in Springfield, Ohio before this election. Someone is going to get really hurt and get killed, all because of the vitriol that this man keeps spewing out of his mouth, him and J.D. Vance. And then when that happens, they're going to run out of Springfield and they're going to blame everybody. Of course, they'll try to put the blame on the Democrats, like they always do. In a press conference in Los Angeles, this is Trump, he rambled about that very large faucet in Canada that can solve all of California's water problems. What was he doing campaigning in California anyway? Oh, of course, he was at one of his golf courses. This is not entirely made up. He was apparently referring to the Columbian River. But as this Canadian scientist explains, needless to say, there is no faucet, and it isn't that simple. Trump said in the interview that the audience at the debate, quote, went crazy, close quote, for him. There was no audience. This man is delusional in his own mind. You all don't want to believe it. You all don't want to see the signs of senility and acute Alzheimer's and dementia setting in. He rambles. He's incoherent. He's slurring his words. He has a hard time reading from a teleprompter and from a piece of paper. But this is the same man who condemned Joe Biden for being over 80 years old. He condemned and judged Biden because he had a terrible time at the debate. Well, he was more pathetic than Biden was. I watched the debate. He was pathetic. And he's old. He's an old relic from the past. What past? He's a relic from America that once was. One of division, one of hatred, one of bitterness, one with the KKK, one with Jim Crow, one with segregation, one with demoralization and demonization of anyone that he totally disagrees with. And what a lot of his supporters don't understand, a lot of this is about political posturing. He is the puppet master. And he will say and do anything to appease that particular segment of his uh, constituency. Who are they? Racists, bigots, Proud Boys, white boys, the Nazis, KKK, anybody. Now, in one of Trump's more bizarre rants ever, he said he was greater even than Elvis, quote, close quote. This is Trump speaking. Nobody can draw crowds like me. I'm the greatest of all time. Maybe even greater than Elvis. Elvis had a guitar. I don't have a guitar. I don't have the privilege of a guitar. First of all, his crowds are not that great and they're not that large. He's the one who's paying people to fill up whatever arenas he comes to. See, that's how you know he's doing it because he said that the Democrats are doing it. No, it's Trump that's doing it. He's the one having the signs made up saying, Dear leader, oh, I love Trump, support Trump. He used to have black people sitting in the front of his rallies, dispersed. He doesn't do that anymore. You know why? Because he's too busy demonizing my black brothers and sisters from Haiti. And do you think that's going to go well over with black Americans? No, it's not, sir. We're not going to vote for you. We're not. Point blank. You lost the black vote. I don't care how many you think you have, but you will not get the majority of black people to vote for you. And you're losing the women as well. You're losing white women. That's why Oprah Winfrey, and I'm going to put that interview in segments on my YouTube channel, sat down with Vice President Kamala Harris and had a conversation. You're losing them. I never said it would be easy for Kamala Harris to win. But I believe in my spirit and in my soul that she's going to win this election. Now, the Democrats may probably lose the Senate, and they may probably lose Congress. But you know what? That's why you have a pin. Trump signed more executive orders during his presidency than Obama did. And then he got mad when President Biden did the same exact thing that he did. These are things that have to be challenged. And this is why I'm talking to my audience. And don't forget, kindly subscribe to Tyrone Bowman Live. We can have an intelligent, articulate, respectable conversation on this channel. And we can see it from both perspectives and intelligently be able to decipher what is true and what is false. As a criminal justice major and a law student, I make sure that before I come to this camera, the things that I say have been thoroughly researched and that they are factual. This is not a game. My black brothers and sisters, you better listen to me. Make sure you're registered. Make sure you have all your proper identification. And if you don't want to show up to the polls, then vote by mail. Because that's how I'm going to vote. So, you're comparing yourself to an entertainer, Elvis Presley. Are you serious? When Elvis Presley was alive, his crowds were enormously large everywhere that he went. And you are no Elvis Presley, sir. You will never be like Elvis. Never. Okay. The writer of the article puts it this way. First of all, a-hole, a guitar isn't a privilege. It's something you earn by learning how to play. Like I have. But learning a musical instrument requires having an attention span of more than 5 seconds. So that's out of the question for Trump. He can't learn the kazoo. Second, his reference point shows his age. Does it not? How far removed is Trump's invocation of someone who was at the peak of popularity nearly 70 years ago and died nearly 50 years ago, from Bob Dole's famous reference to the Brooklyn Dodgers during the 1996 campaign? I mean, that was only 40 years after the Boys of Summer fled to LA. And third, if you know anything about Elvis's career and what rock and roll tours were like in those primitive days, you know that he was typically playing crowds of 3,000 or 4,000, often less, fairgrounds and high school auditoriums. Even the 70s Vegas Elvis played mostly the Westgate Casino Cabaret capacity was 1,700. The large scale rock and roll tour started with the Beatles and then grew from there. But Elvis remains the loudest star of the 80-year-old Queen's brain. Oh, and by the way, Trump said this at a rally where, of course, there were lots of empty seats and where, yes, people were spotted leaving early because they're tired of hearing the garbage. They're tired of hearing the lies. I lost. They stole the election. They stole the election. I didn't lose. Man, almost 8 years later, you're still whining and crying and hollering that somebody stole the election from you. So we have two issues we need to examine here. First, the astonishing offensive remarks Trump made Thursday night about Jews. His Jewish support should start sinking like a stone. But there's one, according to the article, one Jewish person who clearly loves him. And other events this week have to make us wonder whether Bibi Netanyahu is trying to start a war with Lebanon and maybe Iran to raise gas prices and screw up the economy right after Jerome Powell made a move to ensure that doesn't happen to help Trump win. But that's another column, if I get around to it. The second issue is one that must remain front and center in the, well, let me get back to Benjamin Netanyahu. They're going to throw him out of office. He's done. He's finished as the prime minister of Israel. He's not progressive. He doesn't want peace. He's not trying to bring about a stability in the Middle East. He wants to be a warmonger. That's all he wants, is war. The second issue is one that must remain front and center in the American political media. Trump is really losing his marbles now. Was that statement about the crowd going nuts for him at the debate a normal Trump lie, or was it a fantasy of which he has convinced himself? If we book him up to a polygraph and he repeated that line, would his pulse quicken? Would he change his speech patterns, avert his eyes, cover his mouth? I doubt it. He wouldn't even think he was lying. Well, pathological liars don't think they're lying. That's why they lie. Because they believe the stuff that they say. That's what they do. The mainstream media still treats comments like this with difference. Oh, that's Trump. No, these are defining comments. They tell us about his mental fitness. They matter. They should be covered. I can't find evidence that the New York Times or the Washington Post covered those remarks. It's time out for making excuses for this old senile relic from the past. And that's the reason why this nation is in the turmoil that it's in today. Because everything he said has been justified, sanctioned, approved, and stamped by the do-nothing Republicans, the consistent obstructionists. And you know what? People are going to show up at the polls and vote against them because they're tired of them. And if you all think that Trump is going to be caring about everyday people, you are delusional. His CFO is locked up in prison, Weissenberg. He testified against him. He took a plea deal. So if he's locked up and he admits that he was corrupt, you gonna believe this con artist? If that's the case, you should believe Vince McMahon's World of Professional Wrestling, or The Ringmaster, authored by the late Jerry Springer. Or how about Barnum and Bailey? Remember? The circus. It was he who said, "A sucker is born every minute." This sane washing must stop. Voters need to be informed when Trump makes statements with a tenuous connection to reality at best. He's disqualifying himself from the presidency every day that he opens his mouth. But much of the mainstream media is ignoring the words coming out because they think they're going to help him win. Well, guess what? Something you all weren't counting on. And know this, black people are coming out by the millions. Never surrender, never quit.